Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
Great Scott! There's no crying in baseball!
You better hold on tight, Spider Monkey.
This is where the fun begins.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. That's right. We're ranking Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning is a 2025 American action spy film. It is a direct sequel to Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1, released in 2023, and is the 8th film in the Mission Impossible series. In the film, Ethan Hunt and his IMF team race against time to stop a rogue artificial intelligence known as the Entity from triggering a cataclysmic worldwide catastrophe. I honestly had high hopes for this movie. I went into it because I've just watched, honestly, a lot of poor movies recently. I've had to do reviews on movies that throughout the year that I just feel have been disappointing. And I thought this is a movie that has big potential, the final of a huge series. Like, I hope it's really good. And overall, it was a little disappointing. Let's get into why with the 10 essential aspects of a movie. First is plot. Does the movie follow a comprehensive story arc and is plausible within the world that has been created? Now I'm going to need to reference the notes for this one because I have like a million notes for this movie. Starting with the plot, I thought it was decent. It felt like the end. They set it up like the end. I mean, they say it like a million times. Your whole career has been building up to this. And it's a little cheesy, but they flash back to the previous movies several times. And the whole beginning of this movie, the plot in the beginning is honestly just kind of like an exposition dump on what happened in Dead Reckoning and all the other movies before and how this movie is going to kind of tie that up. Now, if you're a huge fan of the series and you've watched them a million times and you know every detail of them, this is probably going to be annoying. Justified. I kind of understand where you're coming from. However, it spanned a long time. These movies have come out over literally decades. So there's a lot to forget, and I'm not going to go watch, 7 other movies to get to this one. I'm just not going to. So I personally appreciated it. I thought it was well done. I thought it was fairly smooth. I mean, it's happening, but honestly, it's not that bad. And it contextualizes enough. Now, I don't feel you're going to feel as much about the characters if that's all you've watched. You should watch the other movies before watching this one. It does help and make sense to kind of know who these characters are in some way. But you don't necessarily have to. And I kind of enjoy that. I like that you can just show this movie to somebody, and they can kind of just hop right in, and it's not really that big of a deal. So I kind of give it credit for that, but I could understand why people would be frustrated. But I like that it felt like the end. I like that they were putting the stakes, I don't know. That is one thing I disliked about the plot is like the stakes at hand. So Gabriel is the bad guy, but I guess the Entity is technically the bad thing. But Gabriel is like the guy, and he's terrible. He's set up to be a good villain for this movie, but they just don't use him at all. Like he's barely in the movie at all. Like he's in there in the beginning for a couple scenes, and then he's like, "I'll see you at the end," and that's literally what happens. You just see him at the end. You go through like an hour and a half of action and other plot lines to then connect, and then at the end he just kind of shows up, and then he's gone. And it's just, I don't know, it's just not that good. They really wasted his potential. He could have been a cool, smart villain. I mean, I just would expect for the final movie, you're going to do something big in the sense of just have a really good character. Have the guy that brings him to a point that nobody else has brought him before. But that is kind of the problem with the Mission Impossible series, is that it's starting to look possible. Because every movie, the stakes are super high. The world is at stake. And getting to the 8th movie, there isn't really that much pressure. Now, knowing that it was the final movie, you think, okay, maybe they might be bold. Maybe they'll do something at the end. So maybe he doesn't save the world. Who knows? But honestly, you're kind of conditioned to the stakes. So it doesn't really feel that big. And they really try to work it up as being like, this is it. This is the end. This is the big one. Like, this is the problem of problems. But it doesn't really feel that way because that's kind of how it's been for all the other movies. It's all felt like the world was going to end. So it just didn't do too good of a job like investing you emotionally into the stakes, because it's just been that way for so long. I thought the ending that they did is just okay. Again, they just didn't do enough with it. They didn't do enough emotionally for me, and they didn't do enough with this particular plot to make it interesting. You definitely have to suspend some of your belief for the action, but that's okay because they've kind of set that up through all these movies, and you're just okay with it because the action's cool. Like, there is a section in this movie where he has to go down to the submarine, and they give time to characters explaining how dangerous this is and how he is pretty much guaranteed to be messed up by the end of it. He's either going to be messed up, but most likely he's just going to die because the pressure is so immense, the lack of oxygen, all this stuff. Like, there's just no way. You'd have to train for years. You'd have to know all this stuff and blah, 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 blah. Like, it's just so dangerous. And then he ends up like taking his shirt off. It's supposed to be so dangerous down there. He ends up like taking his suit off and just like nakedly floating to the top, and he's fine. Like, he's just fine. There's nothing wrong with him. Like, you definitely have to suspend your imagination a little bit. I don't mind doing it because they've established that through the other movies, and the action's worth it. It's cool enough, but I do think it's kind of silly at times. Like, they just mention how dangerous it is. It's like, yeah, I don't think any of those rules are going to apply, and they didn't at all. The main enemy, as far away from Gabriel, but the entity, I thought it was cool. I thought it was really good timing. I mean, it's really, prevalent for today's society, the capability of AI and what it can do and the dangers that it's going to possibly have on society and the world in the future. I thought this was interesting and timely to watch, and like something that will probably be relevant for a very, very long time. So I thought they did a good job of choosing the entity as the problem, but they just didn't use Gabriel all that well. Second is attraction. Does the movie have an interesting premise with a high entertainment value? I would say it has a high entertainment value in action. If you're looking for a really good story, you're in the wrong place. The story was not that good, but the action is top notch. It's really good. The action scenes are very interesting, and especially because it's Tom Cruise. He's doing these stunts for real. He's doing it to the greatest extent that he can. It really helps, honestly, to know that, because when you watch these action sequences, you're kind of picking apart like what's real and what's not, and thinking about the fact that most of it is pretty real, and that there's real stakes, to how this is being filmed. It's all very interesting and done well. It is a movie that if you are into action and you like action, if you've enjoyed the action of the previous 7 Mission Impossibles, you will like this one. If you're in it for the story, you're probably going to be a little disappointed. Third is theme. What message or truth is the movie trying to convey? There is a theme here, kind of a message about trust and compassion, right? I mean, the stakes are just at the highest level they can, and nobody really trusts each other. No one knows what's really going to happen, and that's kind of all he asked for throughout this entire movie. It kind of reflects on the franchise as why they are successful, because they trust each other to get the job done, and that they will be able to get that job done when it needs to be there, but also having the compassion for everyone, not just your team, but everyone. It's okay. I mean, it doesn't really do much for me emotionally. I don't think they handle it all that well. I thought they could have done a better theme about like family. I mean, it's kind of there with some of the team members, but I thought they could have hit that a lot harder. It's serviceable. Fourth is dialogue. Is there a real feel to the conversation? The dialogue is not necessarily super real feeling. It's a typical action movie. It feels like one, but it's decent. There is a certain amount of comedy in this movie, and I thought it was funny when it wanted to be funny, but honestly, sometimes the timing was a little odd. Sometimes it would say jokes that's like, okay, that was kind of funny, but that was a weird place to put that. It isn't the most realistic dialogue in the world, but it's good enough for what the movie was intending. Fifth is acting. Are the characters convincing? The only person I'm going to point out is obviously the man, Tom Cruise. Maybe weird in real life, but the dude is a world-class actor. He's Ethan Hunt throughout this entire series, and he is just He's just great, man. He's the reason why this series is as popular as it is. He's the one that demands doing these crazy action sequences that honestly set the bar for action movies. Just being able to do amazing things. That's what he's known for. And obviously, he's old. I mean, he's up there in age and he's still doing these incredible stunts that are just awesome. He's just the guy. And it's really fun to watch. You know that he is doing all of these stunts on, his own, that he is actually doing them, and doing them at this age is seriously impressive. I will say, like, they, get a shirtless image there as much as possible. And I get it, man. He probably works really hard to look as good as he does at the age he does, and they take advantage of it. They make sure to capture it as much as physically possible. But I mean, you just gotta like the guy. He plays the role well, but this is what he was born to do. He was born to be an action star. 6 is cinematography. Is there a creative use of lighting, setting, and wardrobe to convey emotion? Now, the cinematography is honestly the reason why this movie is successful. Like, the action is good. You go to this movie to expect good cinematography and action, and that's what they give you. They give you a lot of good action sequences. I do think that there are several other Mission Impossibles that do a better storyline, but they all seemingly have good action, and this one is no different. There's a couple scenes that stand out in my mind. The first one being, there is a moment where he is on an American submarine and he ends up getting into a fight, and his team is in a different place getting into a fight with Russians, and they play this off as kind of happening at the same time, and they go between each shot very seamlessly, very fun. It's a very cool fight sequence. I would say probably the best fight sequence in the whole movie. I just like the way it is shot, and I like seeing the other team fight as well, other members of the team fight. It was a lot of fun. It's fun to watch, and it was shot very well. It was cool how they transitioned between each one, and it felt very seamless, and put a lot of tension on that moment in the movie. I will say the fighting is decent. It's good fighting. But I will say that, like, I have watched movies recently that have kind of changed my opinion on fighting in movies. I feel like I've watched a lot of like cheesy 80s, like Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. So I'm kind of used to like bad fighting, and I don't really care that much. I'm kind of desensitized to like how bad it is. This isn't nearly as bad as that, but I will say it's just very obviously choreographed. And when you watch movies that I feel like take that aspect out, whether it's by being more seamless, by being more realistic in some way, or by just shooting it in a way that is more entertaining, and you don't really notice you don't really notice the choreography that much. I would point to Kingsman as being one of those movies that really changed that for me. That is one of the first movies I watched that the fighting, I like the movie for the fighting. Like, the fighting scenes in that movie are really good. Like, I love that church scene. And though it's a little brutal, like, I just think it's filmed really well. And any other time they're fighting in that movie, I feel like the fighting's really just interesting. And this movie is like the step below that, where I don't think it's that interesting, but it's good enough. It's like what you came for, and you're getting it. And it's at like a professional level where the choreography is good. But I wouldn't say it's great. Now, probably my favorite scene out of the entire movie is when he is down in the submarine underwater. That is by far the best action sequence in my mind. And it's kind of because it's the opposite of all your traditional action sequences. There's no gunfights. There's no fighting at all. There's no explosions. There's none of that. There's plenty of that throughout the entire series. I mean, you get fighting and explosions in every scenario you can even imagine. But this one is like uniquely quiet, and I like that. I like how quiet it is. The water is like a different aspect. I mean, they'd spent all this time, like I said before, like telling you how dangerous this was going to be, and that he probably wasn't going to make it. So they really set it up as just the tense aspect of it is already there for you, because they've just told you how dangerous it really is, and really reiterated that it's super dangerous and he might die and all this stuff. And so while he's down there, you're nervous already. You're kind of nervous because you know how dangerous it is. Of course, you're not really worried. You're not really worried that he's going to die, but there is a tenseness to the scene. And I think part of that is the sound. There's really a lack of sound, a lack of music in this scene. but I just really enjoy it. I like the creaking of the metal and just the idea of like being that far down. I don't know, it creeps me out. It just was a really well done scene. It's the scene to me that will define this movie. When I look at all the Mission Impossibles, I'll be like, oh, this is the one with the submarine. That's what I'll say. And that's a testament to that scene. I think it's really well done. There is, of course, the ending plane scene. We got the red and the yellow plane that's in the advertisement, in the trailer. I thought it was okay. I thought it was just an okay action sequence. I mean, it's better than a lot of other movies, but I don't know. It's just him struggling on a plane for the most part. And though it's entertaining, it kind of honestly felt like it just dragged on and wasn't interesting enough to be as long as it was. But overall, all the action is done really well. Emotion-wise, it's disappointing. There honestly is not much emotion at all. Unless you're just super attached to these characters and really attached to this franchise, you might get emotional that this is seemingly the end of the franchise. But I don't think the story does anything. It's not filmed in a way to really capitalize on the weight of it being the last movie. They put nods in there to build it up, but then I don't think they really do a good emotional ending. I honestly thought they weren't really brave enough to make it stand out in any way emotionally. 7th is editing. This is all about the pace of the movie. The movie is 2 hours and 49 minutes long. It is a long movie, but to their credit, it didn't feel that long. Now, I will say, I think if I watched this movie again, I would feel every minute of it. I think it would be entirely too long. But on the first watch, I didn't really notice it was 2 hours and 49 minutes. And, you know, it's the last movie in a long series of movies. You expect it to be long. You're expecting a long haul. Like, it has to be a big, grand movie. So it's going to have a big runtime. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with how long it is. I think it definitely hurts the rewatchability of it because it just is so long. And those scenes won't be as tense because you know ultimately what the ending is. But on the first watch, it wasn't that bad overall. It could have been way worse. 8th is soundtrack. It's good. I mean, it's a soundtrack that is enjoyable. It helps with the action. I don't think it stands out. It's not something I'm going to recommend to somebody, but it is recognizable. I mean, if I hear Mission Impossible music, I know it's Mission Impossible. So I would say it's good music. It's not great, but it definitely helps with the film and is memorable. 9th is directing. Now I feel the director is in charge of the previous 8 aspects. They're the ones that have to put it all together, give it their stamp of approval, and make a really good movie. Now the director of this movie is Christopher McQuarrie, and this was his 6th film. The 6 total films that he's directed so far are The Way of the Gun, Jack Reacher, Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, Mission Impossible Fallout, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, and finally Mission Impossible The Final Reckoning. This dude is just the Tom Cruise director. Like, every movie he's directed is Tom Cruise. Now, 4 out of the 6 movies are Mission Impossible. I would personally say that all of the movies that he's directed for Mission Impossible have been some of the weakest ones for the plot. And that kind of makes sense why this one was a little disappointing. I don't think this person's strong suit is the story. That being said, I remember watching Jack Reacher and I really liked that movie. I thought that had an interesting story as well. But it's been a while and I'd have to watch it again. Maybe I would be a little more disappointed on a rewatch than I remember. But I say disappointing. The stories are still good enough. I mean, you're in it for the action. That's what this guy knows. That's what he does well. He obviously works well with Tom Cruise, knows how to work with him, knows what he wants, and is able to get what he wants out of action, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that would not allow Tom Cruise to do some of the stunts that he does because they pay him so much as the main star. If he gets hurt, it's kind of just it. You can't make the rest of the movie. So he has some sort of trust and relationship that, you know, makes them want to work together on a lot of projects. I think he's a good director. I think he's good enough to make these action movies, and they stand out. And I think Tom Cruise really is one of the main reasons, but I do think that he probably works well with him and that they are probably a very good duo. Tom Cruise just gets all the credit. So I would say he's a good director, and I would rewatch a lot of his movies. 10th is Time. Will it stand the test of time? Now, it is the last movie in the series, so I do think in some sense it will be remembered because a lot of people remember the first and the last movie, but it is the weaker of the Mission Impossible movies in some senses. So I think it will be remembered because it is a part of the series, but it doesn't necessarily stand out in any way outside of just being the end. So yes, it will stand the test of time in some sense. I don't think the action will ever get old. I think it is really good action that will always be fun to watch. It just isn't necessarily the best movie out of the whole series. Now for the review section. Rotten Tomatoes critics gives it an 80. The audience gives it an 88. And IMDb gives it a 72. I'm probably closest to the 80. I think this is a high C, low B kind of movie. I would probably put it in the high 70s. Mainly just because it is a good movie for action. It does action really well, but it doesn't really do anything else that well, and it's not necessarily that unique. I mean, it's just another action movie. Now, Mission Impossible is a large enough series to feel unique, and it's a part of that series, but it's not even a standout in that series. So it's just a little disappointing. It had the potential to be much better. It doesn't really, it feels like the end. I mean, they act like it by giving you all of this setup and referencing all the previous movies a bunch of times, but then they don't really capitalize on the emotional side of it at all. They don't really take any chances to make it feel memorable in any way. And it's not the end of the world. That's okay. It's just a decent movie. It's a good movie. I wouldn't be upset to watch this movie again. I feel like it really is just a low 80s to a high 70s kind of movie. Finally, for the rankings. Now, I'll say it again. I said it in my previous video, but it was Lilo and Stitch. Honestly, I don't know how many people are going to be watching that. I think this one might be a little more popular. I did change my entertainment rankings. If anyone pays attention, you probably wouldn't have noticed. I don't think anyone pays attention that hard. But this movie did make me rethink how my list looks, because I have taken kind of a hiatus, you know, from movie reviews for a little bit there. And coming back, I realized that last year I was really ranking entertainment movies based on the fact that how entertaining it could be. Now, that I was taking away my own bias by saying, okay, I'm trying to think about how many people will like this movie. I've gone away from that and really ranked movies based on how much I would watch them, how many times I would rewatch it or care about it or ever watch it again. And I prefer to do it that way. It's way easier. You either understand how I like movies or you don't. And the list, as the list grows, I'm sure you'll start to understand what I like and what I don't like. And if you don't like that, all well. It's just easier to rank that way. So I went back and re-ranked all 70 movies. It didn't change a whole lot, but some movies definitely did drastically change. And rather than being how entertaining they could possibly be, I will mention that in a review saying, hey, it's just not my type of movie, but I think this kind of, you know, an attraction, I'll mention that this kind of audience would probably like this movie. But when it comes to the ranking on the list, it's just going to be my own personal bias. So if you see any differences, that is why. Now, for the year of 2025, on the entertainment side, out of 22 total movies, it is going to be 8th, just below a Minecraft movie and above Clown in a Cornfield. I have it below a Minecraft movie. This movie is really long. I think it will be much harder to watch on the second watch, and its action is not really great enough for me to keep coming back to, but I would not be upset to watch this movie again. I don't think I would personally choose to watch this movie again. I'm not going to choose this movie out from all the movies that I own or exist to watch, but if somebody else put it on, I would not be upset and I would watch the whole thing with them and I would enjoy it. I have a Minecraft movie above it. That's how I feel about that movie, except I think that movie's more fun. It's shorter and just more silly, and I can just get down with a movie that's silly, you know, and just doesn't take itself too serious and is funny enough. Now, it does fall on its face on a couple things, but I just think it's more entertaining to me. I would prefer to watch a Minecraft movie again before this Mission Impossible, just because it's shorter and honestly just a little more entertaining, because it's not meant to be very serious. Now, I do have it above Clown in a Cornfield. Again, it's a movie that I wouldn't be super upset to watch again, but I would never watch on my own again. And it's a genre that I don't love. It's horror. I don't love horror all that much, but it is some comedy, and I thought the comedy was decent. It was okay, but not good enough. I mean, I'm not going to be quoting this movie. I'm not going to remember that much about it. Mission Impossible, I think I just enjoy the action sequences more than I enjoyed the comedy of Clown in a Cornfield. Now, cinematically, out of 22 total movies, it is going to be second, just below Thunderbolts and above Sinners. I have it below Thunderbolts. I will say this is the one thing I was expecting out of this movie. That's what I wanted. I wanted it to be a good cinematic movie. I expected, a grand scale and grand action, and it really delivered on those fronts, but it was disappointing on the emotional side. That's where Thunderbolts was surprisingly emotional. I really like what that movie did with the emotional side of it, and it just really made sense to the team. Like, why make this movie about a ragtag team? Because this team is the only one that can deal with trauma, because they have their own trauma. I enjoyed that. I thought that was just a really good plot point to move on, and they just kind of sneakily did that really well. I just enjoyed it. I thought they hit like an emotional side I wasn't expecting. Mission Impossible didn't hit an emotional side that I was expecting. I thought it was going to be more emotional because it's the final movie, and they really weren't all that great with it. So that's the reason it's below it. I think it's just disappointing on the emotional side. It's probably better cinematically, maybe, with the action compared to Thunderbolts. It stands out a little more. But I give credit more to emotion on this list. I think emotion, if you can make me feel a certain emotion, to me, that is one of the strongest points for a movie and cinematography as an art form. Like, you're capable of changing my emotion, then you are just through watching a story, then you are doing a really good job. Now, I do have it above Sinners, and that's a movie that didn't have any emotion for me. I wasn't really expecting a whole lot, but it has really cool shots and a really good story, but the vampires are just terribly put in that movie. It kind of bogs the story down, though the vampires themselves are cool. The way they're integrated into the plot just, to me, did not make any sense, felt rushed, and that movie just kept getting worse as the runtime went on. That is a huge problem for me. That is something that I will always put down at the bottom of the list as like one of the worst things you can do is have a terrible plot, because that's the whole reason I'm watching the movie. But Sinners had so much other things going for it that it really saved it for me. It had excellent music. I love when movies do that, and it had really good acting, fantastic dialogue. It just did enough of the side things really, really well, and the plot wasn't awful, but it was just super disappointing towards the end. So I think Final Reckoning is just a better package overall. It's smoother, and though there's some things that it doesn't do better, it definitely doesn't hit the lows that Sinners did for me. Now, for the decade of the 2020s on the entertainment side, it is going to be, out of 58 total movies, it's going to be 30th. Just below a Minecraft movie and above Mufasa, The Lion King. I have it below a Minecraft movie for the exact same reasons as before. I have it above Mufasa. It's just kind of a Disney movie. When I think about entertainment on musicals, I just think about skipping them, because that's what I would do. If I owned the movie and I watched it again, I would just skip all the songs. So I kind of think of the movie in that sense. And it's like a decent movie on its own without all the singing. If you took the singing away, I enjoyed the story of Mufasa, but Final Reckoning is definitely just more of my cup of tea. I just enjoy the action more than that Disney story. Even though that Disney story is decent, I'm just a dude, so I like action more. Cinematically, out of 58 total movies, it is going to be 12th, just below Thunderbolts and above Sinners. It's there for the exact same reasons as before. Now, all time, out of 72 total movies on the entertainment side, it is going to be 43rd, just below a Minecraft movie and above Mufasa, The Lion King. It's there for the exact same reasons as before. And finally, cinematically, out of 72 total movies, it is going to be 17th, just below Thunderbolts and above Sinners. Again, there for the exact same reasons as before. That's all I've got for Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning. Honestly, a disappointing movie, but still a good movie. I mean, it had good aspects to it, but I just thought they could have done way more with it, and I was expecting a little bit more emotionally please comment your opinion on it. That's why I made this channel. I want to know what you think. If you've seen this movie, or what is your thoughts on the Mission Impossible franchise as a whole? What do you really like about it? What did you not like about it? Are you sad that it's coming to an end? Anything. I just love to enjoy. I enjoy hearing all of your opinions and interacting with you guys. That's the whole reason I made this channel. Let me know where you would have ranked it, what your thoughts are on my list. I want to remind people, I've got a Letterboxd link in my description always of every video, so go check it if you want to see the complete list. I'd love to hear people's opinions on the list, especially now that I've really switched things up on the entertainment side. Love to hear you guys' opinion, but you can comment a movie, and I swear I got a list of everybody's movies, and it may be years old before I get to it, but I will get to it at some point. That's all I've got. I'm Mr. Majoritarian. Stay classy, San Diego.